Welcome back to A Conversation with Three Geeks. It's Destiny and Justin, and today we are joined by actor and comedian Trevor Wilson. It is incredible to have you on. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Yourselves?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
What got you started in stand-up comedy?
I'd always been a fan of stand-up. Ever since I was young. I like being funny. Making people laugh was probably my favorite thing. And there was just something about stand-up, about, doing it all on your own, that there was a certain appeal to it. And I'd been in the business for a while already. I started out as a kid actor. So I'd been in the business since I was about 14. And it was always something I wanted to try. And I went to Humber College for their School of Comedy, Writing, and Performance. Part of that was stand-up. So, we started doing it there. Me and my buddies would go down and try to get onto the open mics wherever we could. And once you got on and got that first laugh on stage, the addiction sets in.
Yeah. You've been doing it, so you've said it's about 2 decades now. How has your comedic voice evolved over the years?
I find that no matter who you are, when you first start doing stand-up in particular, you're really doing an impression of what you think stand-up is. It's a little bit of all the comics you've watched over the years, and you're up there presenting what you believe stand-up to be, and it's it's like that 10,000 hours thing.
Yeah.
After you put in enough time, you actually figure out who you are up there. And then that's when you actually really start writing comedy. I think for the first 5 years, it's all practice.
It's a good way to look at it.
So whose voices did you most listen to? Who were your kind of inspirations growing up and kind of pulling from then for your first time?
Growing up, George Carlin was a big one. We had a bunch of George Carlin albums. Brian Regan was a favorite of mine. There was a Canadian comic, Mike McDonald, who had specials all over the place. It's weird to say now, but Bill Cosby's comedy was a big influence.
He was an icon, man. He's crazy. He was an icon.
It's kind of weird because there was like at one point it was like, oh yeah, that's obvious to say that name, but now it's like Bill Cosby for his comedy and his comedy only.
Be real specific about that,
was definitely an influence. There was Jeremy Hotz is another Canadian comic that I watched a ton of. There's just so many. And guys that didn't really hit the big time, but were just road warriors that did it. Guys like Derek Edwards and Mike Wilmont are two Canadian comics who are, legends up here. Yeah, they all just kind of subtly influence what you're doing because you watch these experts and these pros do it, and even subconsciously you take a little bit of stuff from them. And then after a while, you kind of figure out who you are. I think for me, it really set in when I wrote the Fire story off my first album, that was one of those things that happened. That was the story that everybody wanted me to tell at a party, but it took me about a year to make it funny on stage. And I had some friends over. My folks were out of town, and I had the run of the house, and I was cooking up French fries and burgers, and pot of oil caught fire and went out of control. It led to a whole series of events, and it was one of those like every party I went to, my friends were like, "You got to tell the fire story." But when I did it on stage, it didn't quite click. There was, and it took a while to realize how to write long form for stage. And after that, like the formula I figured out is when you take a story, get rid of anything that's not funny and doesn't drive the story forward. Get rid of like any exposition. If you don't need it to move the story along, and if it doesn't get a laugh, get rid of it. and then you're left with the skeleton of the story and the funny parts of the story, and then you start filling in the story with jokes. You start finding your similes and your entertaining metaphors. And the longer you write comedy, the more you end up with these little jokes that have no home because they don't fit in anywhere. And you go into your notebook and be like, okay, I can, this joke I can actually throw in here because this will work with this scenario. And then after that, you've got a stage ready bit. And after I wrote the fire story, it became easier every time after that to write long form stories for the stage. And that became my thing. And I have a very slow, deliberate pacing. Part of that comes from a background in theater. And also we had a really active pot community in Toronto, and there was all these pot friendly comedy shows. And I found the slower I talked, the easier it was for the stoners to stay on board.
Love that.
So I slowed it right down. And then I was like, this is working really well with the potheads. I wonder if it'll work like that as well in the clubs. And it did. I find, if you talk slowly and deliberately, little tricks, talk a little bit lower, talk a little bit quieter, and the crowd leans in a bit and stops talking as much because they need to hear what's going on. And you just get a little bit more control with your audience with small little tricks like that. But yeah, I find a lot of guys rush to fit in too many jokes into a short amount of time and let the time breathe a bit, let the people have a chance to actually laugh at your stuff. And
yeah,
you can fill a time. It's amazing how quickly you can fill 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'll take a quality joke over multiple that aren't as funny, for sure.
Is there a certain reaction you get from a crowd to know, like, hey, this joke is done, or I've baked this enough? Like, you'll get a laugh, but is there a certain reaction? How do you know personally that, okay, I think I can sit this one down and work on another one?
It's funny. A joke is never really done. You just get it to a place that you're happy with it.
Sure.
Because you can tell a joke 100 times, and on the 101st time, you'll think of a tag you've never thought of before. Or something will happen, in the audience that'll change the joke slightly. So yeah, you just get the joke to a place that you're happy with it.
Sure.
But, until you really put it on an album or a special or anything, you can do whatever you want with it. So the joke's not finished till someone pays you to put it on something.
There you go. How do you decide which of like your personal stories you're gonna use in your comedy bits?
I mean, they got to be funny. Number one,
Yeah.
If they're not funny, what's the point? And now that I'm married, everything's got to go past the boss. So if it involves her in any way, shape, or form, or involves an aspect of our life that she might not want put out there, she's got final say on whether or not we're allowed to do it on stage. And that's just a good tip to any young comics out there who want to have a happy marriage. Like, don't think that your right to tell a joke supersedes your wife's right to privacy. That'll help you stay married a lot longer.
Good advice.
Yeah. Do you have a book of like open after I'm dead? Like, God bless her. She's got a great sense of humor, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, if she doesn't want it up there, we're not putting it up there. And and yeah, and it's also I tend to like to do things to a theme, like when I'm putting together my overall hours and my larger sets. I kind of like there to be a flow to it that makes sense. So I'll write jokes and they'll be good, but they won't necessarily fit into what I'm doing right now. And so they'll get put on the shelf
for another time, for when it makes more sense to do them. Yeah, really, as long as it's funny and as long as it can be turned into a stage bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some stories just aren't funny to the people that weren't there.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to paint that picture and to recreate that scenario for your audience. Otherwise, they're just going to be looking at you going, like, why are we talking about this? Why are we? But as long as it's relatable enough, and that's the difference, I think, that's what makes comedians is they see the joke. Whenever everyone else has a horrible day and they're like, I never want to think about this ever again, a comedian is like, oh well, this is at least 5 minutes of gold, right?
Sometimes your bad days have to be. You have to make them funny.
You get more comedy out of awful, awkward interactions than you do from things going well.
Definitely.
No one wants to hear a guy talk for 45 minutes about how great everything is.
That's very true. No, we want to hear the train wrecks. That's what's entertaining. What during like some touring you've done with comedy, what's kind of like the craziest moment you've had? It could be a you moment. It could be a fan moment.
I guess it's the definition of crazy. I mean, we've had there's just a lot, I'm trying to pick out like something that is actually entertaining. Because it's like, what defines crazy? Like, we've seen some shit when we were doing Letterkenny live in Atlanta. We saw a guy driving around with the head of a gas gun sticking out of his.
That's crazy.
Sticking out of his gas tank.
Nothing surprises me about anything you could have seen in Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, when we did Letterkenny live, there was a lot of crazy stories just from being on the bus. But like, we did a show up in like northern Alberta on one of the first runs of that, and there's a lot of guys who work on the oil rigs up there. We're out at the show. It's a big oil rig town, so a lot of people have a lot of money to throw around, and those oil rig boys, because like they're on the rig for so many days, and then they get like almost a full week off, so they go nuts. And that was the show we had to throw like the most people out of because they were just insane and rap. I remember one of our tour guys, or one of our tour managers, was like, the lineup for beer, I swear they're all asleep. Everyone's standing there with their eyes closed. After the show was done, Nathan from the show went to use the bathroom we were at a hockey arena, and he came out and he's like, I don't know what those guys were doing, but that bathroom is nothing but cocaine and throw up.
Incredible.
That's fantastic.
It's just an absolute mess. And that show, it started off as a shit show. Because the night before we were in Edmonton and the hotel was like a boutique hotel called Crash, which turned out to be a party hotel. It was on top of a bar. And we came back from our show that night to find that there was a super soft birthday party happening in the bar under our hotel. And it was like, all right, so someone probably leaked that we were here.
Yeah.
And it was so loud. When we checked into the hotel, there were earplugs on our beds. And we were like, that's weird.
Wow.
And when we got back, it was so loud. When I called my wife, she was like, why didn't you wait till you were in your room to call me? And I'm sitting on my bed, and she's like, it sounds like you're outdoors. I'm like, no,
That's
this
nuts.
hotel do. So I got switched to the crew hotel, but Kiso and Nate stuck it out at the party hotel. They just shoved the table up against the door to stop anyone from maybe breaking in and playing
Sure.
golf.
Yeah.
But we got to the next town, and where we were doing the show that night, and I just went straight to the venue because they had a laundry machine there, and I could do my laundry because I had about a week's worth of clothes that needed cleaning, and the other guys went to the hotel and passed out, and they were having work done at the hotel. So when the boys woke up, the water had all been shut off at the hotel because they were having work done. And by the time they got to the hockey arena, they all needed to shower, and all the hot water had been used up in the rink. So the boys all had cold showers in the hockey shower. And I was like, oh, I feel real bad because I showered here hours ago and I had all the jets on. I was standing in the middle with 4 different jets just pointing at me. So a little bit of that was my bad. So.
Early bird.
Yeah. The same opportunity you did, my man. Same opportunity.
Everyone was in a great mood that day.
Oh.
So the story's like, oh, sorry.
That was just one of the, and then, another crazy one when we were in LA on the last Letterkenny live tour. We got invited to Ed Norton's house for lunch. He's a huge fan of the show and became good buddies with Kiso. And met Ed and his lovely wife, Shauna, who's terrific. And turns out she's from 2 towns over from where I live now. Good Canadian girl. And then Ed and his wife came to the show with Brad Pitt that night, and we all hung out with Ed Norton and Brad Pitt after the show.
That's
and
fun.
Brad's a huge Letterkenny fan, so
That's great.
We're his laundry folding show.
Dope. Yeah.
I love it. Speaking of Letterkenny, sorry, Justin.
No, please no.
All the characters in Letterkenny have their own fun quirks and phrases. How much creative freedom did you have with Squirrelly Dan to get him to the character he was? Was all of that written, or did you have a little say in some of that?
It was very collaborative. Jacob and Jared are great writers, and there was a lot of great stuff was already on paper for the characters. But Squirrelly Dan was originally written for Dan Petronevich, who played McMurray on the show. Him and Kiso worked together on a cop drama called 19-2. And so Dan had been originally written for him, but then he booked a role in Suicide Squad and couldn't commit to the full season as they needed him.
Yeah. So
I got brought in as choice number 2 to play Dan, and then they created McMurray so that Petronevich could still, come and play. And so the character was written and created with an entirely different voice in mind. And how it was going to be played. And if you go back and look at some of the dialogue that Squirrely Dan had in season 1, he talked a lot more about hookers, and there was some crazy stuff that was was very much fit into a bit more of a McMurray presentation of Dan. And so when I joined up with the cast, I paid close attention to Jared and Nate's pacing because the show is a lot quicker than how my stand-up flows.
Yeah.
So I really based the pacing on how they are, on how fast they already were, because I knew I'm going to have to fit into that world, and I wanted to bring something that felt small town, but that wasn't necessarily in their performances yet.
Yeah.
And I'd been to, hundreds of small towns over the years and met tons of guys who, even though English is their first language, they haven't quite mastered it. And who put way too many S's in their sentences. And I was like, I'm gonna make Dan that guy. Dan's gonna be the guy with too many plurals and all the mispronunciations that you can have. And I just started doing that at the first table read. I just started throwing the Danisms out there and the messing up the words on purpose. And Kiso came up to me afterwards and was like, boy, I'm real glad you did that, because that's kind of what I wanted you to do, but I didn't know how to write it. So thanks for doing that, and just keep doing that. And so after that, we were off to the races, and I'd get the scripts and I'd go through and figure out, which word is funnier to screw up and which word would be funnier to add an S after. And I'd always come with some alternates, and I'd run them by Kiso and Jacob. Usually, sometimes I'd throw a curveball out there because it's always fun to break the boys. I had a good game going. I was always trying to crack the rest of the cast during the episode. And if I broke Kiso once on a take, the next take, whatever I did to make him break, I was going to do twice. I was really going to hammer it home. So that became part of it too, is trying to get each other and trying to do stuff that broke us. So they just let me run with it. And then as the series progressed, they started writing more for Dan's voice. So sometimes they'd be like, this is what we want you to mess up. But sometimes they would just let me go. Like a lot of the times when Dan would scream at everybody at the top of his lungs, the script would just say, Dan yells at everybody. And I would just go, just do your thing, K-Trev. And I'd come up with some insane, horrible threat. Like, staple your tongue to your taint so you can watch me kick your ass is definitely one I made up on my own.
Awesome.
Love it.
And it was very collaborative. They'd write great stuff, and then I would twist it just a little bit to make it my own. But it was always we were always heading towards the same goal. So, and if they needed me to pull it back, I pulled it back. Sometimes Jacob was like, "That was great, but we can't do that in this scene." And I'd be like, "Sure thing." And sometimes I'd come up with a crazy idea, and he'd let me do it, and be like, what if Dan's asleep on the bar, and when he lifts his head up, he's got a whole pickled egg in his mouth? And he's like, we can do
it. Love it.
Do you have a favorite memory of you guys breaking? Just like a scene you just couldn't get through?
There was a few. I mean, obviously, the one that will follow me around forever is probably the butthole scene.
Yeah.
And the boys had a very tough time doing that. Like on my coverage, they weren't even looking at each other because they're each other's kryptonite. If Nate goes, Jared's going to go, and vice versa. So they were pretty much playing catch with their backs turned, because as I was going off about, it's natural, they were both done. And it took us forever to get a clean take of sushi and sashimi.
Incredible, yeah.
That's the one that was coming to mind for me that I would have thought would have been hard to get through.
He so kept saying it was because I lost a bunch of weight that year, and my eyes were really expressive. So when I was like struggling to not add the plurals to sushis and sashimis, or that he was like, your eyes were just bugging out of your head, and I couldn't look at it. And he was like, we were doing the takes, and he'd be fighting his laugh, and he'd be like, did we get it? And Jacob would be like, no, you have this weird face on the whole. This was the wide. I see all of you in this scene. No, we didn't get it. He's like, you look insane. You have to do it again.
Oh, I just imagine that was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, to think the time I broke the hardest working with Lisa, who played Gail on the show.
Love her.
She would crack me like no one's business because, I mean, Gail was such an over-the-top character and such the polar opposite of Lisa, who is just, there were times where literally Jacob had to explain to Lisa what she was saying.
That's funny.
He was like, what does this even mean? And he's like, it's this. You're like, oh my goodness. Okay.
Awesome.
But she had the crazy sexual energy and the fart book episode when she's flipping out at Stuart and telling him all the things she's going to do to her and then running in those big boots to get on her bicycle to ride away is like, it was such a hilarious visual. And I don't know if there's a clean take of that. Like, I think if you go back and watch that episode, I'm hiding behind the brim of my hat.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Lisa broke me a lot.
I could see that character being one that would break people because she's so over the top and absolutely love it about her.
Yeah, the crazy sexual energy from that character.
Yeah.
And just the deadpan all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing fazed her. And there was only a handful of times that Lisa herself broke. Like, she's such a pro that I think I can only think of maybe once her actually breaking. And she was just an absolute rock on that show. She could hold it all together while we were all absolutely losing it around her.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, do you have any current projects, any current tours or anything coming up?
I mean, I'm on the road quite a bit. Next month, I got some shows in Buffalo, New York, and just outside of Philadelphia. And then I got a weekend in Springfield, Missouri, which is nice. And got a couple things that are in the works, but nothing that we've inked pen to paper to on yet. So I can't go into any great detail, but hopefully get to make some announcements soon. And and then we got Roast Battles Canada season 5 on the air right now, so hoping to come back and do a 6th season of that at Just for Laughs this year, which is always a good time.
Oh yeah.
How do those reality TV shows go? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no worries.
How does that? I've not talked to anybody that's ever been on one of those shows. So how does that work usually? Is it super hyper competitive? Is it?
Well, I mean, like when I was a contestant in Roast Battles, it was a tournament style thing.
Yeah.
And not really so much reality show because it's not like behind the scenes or anything. It's just and in the Canadian version, I'm one of the judges, so I got the easy job.
Oh, dope.
But I wouldn't really call it reality TV because it's comedians being comedians and there's no real behind the scenes element to it. But closest thing I've done to reality TV was Last One Laughing, Prime, and that was just surreal. But again, it was like a very condensed version of reality TV because it was really only one day where we shot all of it, and so it was like 10 hours all in. And the whole thing is just the whole time we're there, we're being filmed, and there was no real break except for I think we had a lunch break where we were allowed to eat food and breathe.
So were you dying the whole time? Like, yeah, sorry.
It was such a surreal experience, just who you're locked in the room with. A lot of the people I'd met before, I'd met Tom Green years before at another festival, and he's such an interesting guy because just like his whole perspective is is really amazing and unique because he was kind of a viral star before there were viral stars. Like he was on public access in, you know, the Ottawa region doing his weird show, and tapes of this show just started like floating around. It was like he was being tape traded like Japanese wrestling, like. And so he became this like word of mouth sensation. And then he was still on public access, but he was like being produced to be on public access and broadcast across the country. And then it got picked up in the States, and then he got picked up by Comedy Network, and then he got picked up by MTV, and you know, he just kept growing and growing, and then he got to do the movies, and then you know, then he went down to doing his show just on the internet and doing more stand-up and stuff. But it was like literally like he was like, before there was YouTube stars, he was the original.
100%. Yeah.
And so he's got such an interesting perspective, and he's just a fearless comedian. Like the stuff he's done, like if you go back and watch episodes of his old shows, the stuff he told me that when he got his first really big check, he bought his parents a new house to thank them for all the crap he'd put them through over the years.
That's the dream. Just thanks, parents.
He drove nuts, but such a cool guy. And yet Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, like an absolute legend. I grew up on Kids in the Hall and news radio, and I'd met Dave a few times before, but you know, being locked in a room with him is a whole different tips. And Caroline Ray, that was my first time meeting Caroline, but you know, again, a stand-up legend, and also Aunt Zelda, or from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So, and then, you know, a lot of good friends like Deb, I'd known for a long time, so it was great. May, I'd known for a long time, so it was great. Colin, I'd worked with before, but he might be the funniest human being on the planet.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So sharp, so quick. John LaJoy and I had been Facebook friends for a million years, but that was actually the first time we met in person. And I really liked John, and it was great working with him. And
that's awesome.
Yep, Brandon Ash Muhammad, terrific. I didn't know him that well before it, but I knew him and got to know him a lot better being locked in a room with him. And Baruchel and I have been buddies since we were 19, so I've known him for a long, long time. We did a Pizza Pops ad together when we were kids. So awesome. Anytime I get to hang out with Baruchel's a good day. That's kind of how they sold me on it. I was like, well, I'm probably not going to win this, but at least I get to hang out with Dave.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
You know, it's still get to just go have a good time. Well, okay, Trevor, it has been incredible having you. Where can people find you online and keep up with what you're up to?
Well, I'm the only K. Trevor Wilson on the internet, so it's really easy to find me. I'm at ktrevorwilson.com. On Instagram and Twitter, I am at K. Trevor Wilson. So, if you type K. Trevor Wilson, you'll find out what I'm up to. And my website always has my stand-up going, and whatever I'm doing will be up there.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, guys, go give him a follow. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe here. And K-Trev, thank you again. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course.